I think I posted on Twitter, so we should be good on Twitter. Awesome. We're live on Twitter. YouTube should be coming through. Awesome. I think YouTube's up as well. G'day, everyone. I didn't check what time it was in Australia. I think it's only early. What time is it in Australia? 7:30 a.m. I think. Might be a bit early. Welcome, everyone. Yep. We're live. Awesome. How's the weather in California, Nathan? A bit warmer than over here on the where am I? On the east.
Yep, beautiful here in California. How's DC?
Look, it's a bit quieter than New York. I really did like New York, though. That was there was a lot happening there. When I saw Josh Frank from the Tie, I don't think I mentioned that to you. Got up with Josh yesterday from the Tie. That was pretty cool. Unbelievable how much you pay for rent and space. Morning, Andrew. In New York, he was basically saying, so he's in Manhattan and has an office, 1 floor office, 50 people space, $25,000 US a month in rent. For a space in Manhattan for an office. Like, that's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a Bored Ape, like a year for rent.
And now that you've been, geez, mustn't NFT New York City be an absolute scene once you get all the crypto degens in there and all the NFT lovers?
Man, I was actually looking at the NFT NYC just before. I was like, oh, maybe try and might have to sell some crypto and come back. It's all happening though. New York and Miami really felt that crypto buzz, and just a lot of people there, and a lot of people talking about crypto, and a lot of crypto businesses being built out of there. Investors, entrepreneurs.
And I think you mentioned it to me. Once you hit the major cities, you see how ingrained it is into the mainstream consciousness. You see ads on billboards. You see things around the city that makes that crypto's alive.
Yeah, 100%. So I went to Times Square, and like one of the biggest ads on the walls was some like NFT project. Like, never heard of it, nor do I think any of that really works. Banner ads in NFT land, but to see that, like, the money sort of pouring into the space is phenomenal. And being in it, coming from Australia, like, the market in Australia is as close to insignificant as it probably gets. Being in the US, and I'm proud Aussie, but from a crypto perspective, like, it is just huge over here compared to down under.
Yeah, and that's with Australia having a pretty good influence on the crypto market for a limited population, but still, it's just a numbers game here with the amount of humans in America.
Yeah, 100%. Hey everyone, if you're joining nice and early, thanks Andrew. 7:30 a.m. for the early risers. 5:30 over here in Washington. I think a little bit early there where you are, Nathan. Drop a message if you're online, hearing us loud and clear. We'll just do another wrap up of platforms, but I think we're all good. I think Discord. Awesome. We'll start in about 30 seconds. Just make sure YouTube's working. Today we're going to be talking about the Coinbase NFT launch. What does that mean for the NFT market as a whole? Where is the NFT market at right now? We've got the Moonbirds launch, with this complete and utter FOMO. I think the floor is, where are we? Just every time I refresh the page, it goes up 35. It's going up half an ETH since we started the live 6 minutes ago. That's just phenomenal. And then you're going to touch on some Apecoin stuff, some staking. But yeah, gotta get into it. Yes, Andrew, 35 ETH. Phenomenal. Where were we? It was a 2.5 ETH. Anyway, we'll get to it soon. But yeah, phenomenal stuff. Nathan, first of all, what are you sort of seeing in the market right now? Like, before we get into Coinbase, obviously Moonbirds has been a fair bit of FOMO. Like, what are you sort of seeing from a macro perspective in the market with new participants, volume? Seems pretty, there's a fair bit happening at the moment.
Yeah, it seems like Moonbirds has injected the whole industry with a brand new sense of hopium and activity and just excitement. It seems like we brought in a few new entrants, like a few new previously non-NFT owners now own, say, a Moonbirds or own something else in the space.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people were looking at a liquidity dry up. I know Matt was for the NFT market as a whole by Moonbirds taking money away from the rest of the NFT collections. And if anything, what we saw was a successful launch, and then the wealth increase from all of the Moonbird holders was essentially then redistributed back into the market into other projects. So a lot of blue chips NFTs held up really well in terms of price performance, next to Moonbirds going exponential. But we didn't really see a decrease in other NFT projects. So the hype is still there for older projects. And then now Moonbirds has kind of reinvigorated the market and shown us exponential gains again, which makes everyone in crypto happy. And then it also gives it that like mainstream spotlight as well, where once you have an exponential or a J curve story in crypto, you know, the mainstream likes to hear about it, especially when it's pixelated owls.
100%. And Nansen have a really cool some indexes here in crypto, so you can sort of see what they, you know, had the blue chip top 10, they had the NFT, you know, 500 sort of replicating like the stock market, and you can see that, you know, the blue chip has really continued to increase. Back from March, we had a bit of a low, and then, you know, it's sort of continuing to hit all-time highs.
Yep, exactly. And similar to that blue chip 10, that's a really good chart there. Someone in the Facebook comments is mentioning about historical NFTs. And that has been a talking point. I know Leonidas on Twitter was pretty much pounding his fists on the table, saying that, you know, what about Mooncats? What about historical NFTs? Why aren't they getting to 30 ETH? What place in the market does historical NFTs? And the user on Facebook mentioned curio cards and pixel maps and Ethereum. And Moonbirds kind of demonstrated that if you have a brand new team that can give people the opportunity for exponential gains, has the artworks there, has the long-term, you know, valuation propositions, then it's going to blow potentially historical NFTs out of the water. So, you know, historical NFTs will have their place, obviously. Not quite as familiar with pixel maps or Ethereum, but yeah, it seems like new NFT collections are going to be coming out, and, you know, historical significance is out the window, because people want exponential returns, and that will attract current investors and new investors. So yeah, we saw how blue chips held up, and we saw how historical NFTs really kind of not fallen behind, but just, you know, stayed in their lane while new entrants have joined.
Do you think that's because of the new
That's right,
focus on?
Ethereum.
Yeah, Ethereum's first. Do you think that was because of the real change? Like, there's been a bit of a fundamental change of like NFTs towards more of that utility aspect. So, you know, I was on I'm a, you know, Moonbirds holder, so I was able to, you know, get in and just sort of hear the roadmap and hear what Ryan and the guys are creating. Like, these guys are building a business. Like, it's a company, and they're reinvesting the
Yes.
profits. They're hiring people. They've got a roadmap. They're building a metaverse. They're developing merchandise. They're developing the nesting, and they're wanting to build a community. And they're looking to build an NFT event or festival. They're hoping it's going to be the best, you know, the biggest NFT sort of event ever. And I think the way to look at it now is like, there's not just collections run by, you know, people that probably aren't actively, and I'm not saying these projects aren't actively being sort of developed on, but these are, you know, actual companies with world-class entrepreneurs, founders, and business people that wanting to build the next generation of Web3 companies. And for me, that's been a real shift, right? Like, this is like companies raising their Series A, although
Yes.
it's like 70 or $80 million of like their Series A, which is phenomenal. But I think the natural progression of like community exclusivity and FOMO is real, right? Like, people are like, holy shit, they just keep missing the floor. It just keeps going up.
Yep.
You start to get celebrities coming in. And I think what I like about the Moonbirds guys, they've been super transparent. You know, I see a lot of shit on Twitter where, you know, they came out and basically said that, you know, they're paying some celebrities to come in and, you know, own the NFT and promote it. Guess what? Any other company in the world does that. That's influencer marketing, right? But the fact that they're sort of being transparent about that, and they know that's the direction of being open to the community about that, I think that really builds such a strong base, and that's at the core what a good NFT collection is.
Exactly. Moonbirds have been a bit of a turning point, to your point of they're raising their Series A, their Series Seed. And instead of raising a convertible note or equity, they've just decided to sell an NFT collection. And it's really a tipping point. Like last year and earlier this year, we saw it. We kind of understood that people are raising money through these token collection sales, and they're building metaverse brands or they're building communities. No, Moonbird said, we're building a company. So this is kind of setting a precedent like, yo, if you're an entrepreneur out there and you just saw them raise tens of millions of dollars, and we have secondary volume that's over 95,000 ETH, ridiculous amounts. This is a great way to bootstrap a business. So I agree with you. This is NFT collections are replacement mechanisms for raising a convertible note, a Series Seed, a Series A. And I think we're going to take this I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to say that tokens are a better mechanism for valuing an asset and tracking an asset than equity. And I think this is one of those things that we're just slowly moving the chains, as they say in America, down the field. And we're just slowly getting to that realization that tokens are a better mechanism than equity. Web3 is a better ownership model than traditional centralized and private VC. And that, you know what, if you want to raise money in the future, release JPEGs. It's okay.
The other thing that I've felt, this is the first like real collection I've invested in other collections. I've invested in shit, scams. I've sort of done it all as a pretty novice NFT investor. But obviously very grateful and lucky to get on that. It was a raffle, and then there was so much interest. This thing was a raffle, right? It was like winning the lotto.
2.5 minting price for those that don't know. Yep.
Yeah, 2.5 minting price, and we're at to 35 ETH. So it's like you sort of made 100 like unrealized gains, but 110,000 US dollars in less than a week, like just ridiculous.
And really quickly, before you get to your point, on the back of those numbers, one thing you mentioned, utility. I've seen so much good talk around the founders, Kevin Rose and their team. I don't think we see this type of volume or this type of price action unless you have a quality team. So it goes back to those VC or venture capital investment principles of you're investing in humans and who are these teams. And I think Kevin Rose has a really, really respected podcast. He's got a good network himself. They are Kevin. So it just goes to show that this isn't just off the back of, some good looking owls and the promise of utility. Kevin Rose has built a reputation for themselves and is now, cashing in on it and starting a company on it.
Such a valid point. I think this is where I posted something on LinkedIn the other day. Try this because this was, I'm sort of trying to bring, crypto to an audience that probably hasn't seen it too much. And
we got to get your Moonbird onto LinkedIn.
We got to get the NFTs onto LinkedIn. So I put this article, or wasn't an article, it was just a little post, and yes, it was a little bit, hopefully this loads here, a little bit clickbaity, but, I sort of go in to talk about, the idea of, that's not going to load, the idea of, NFTs, and it had 30, 40,000 sort of views and a lot of comments from non-NFT people. Right. And you look at anything that goes up 400% in a few hours, you're thinking it's a scam, it's a waste of time, like it's going to go to zero. But the fundamentals of this project is like a company. And they, if you look at the founders, like you said, Nathan, like that's what you're looking at. You're looking at a company that is raising their seed round with very reputable founders that just built Proof, or the collective Proof Collective NFT that, ETH floor of whatever it is, 100 ETH. Huge project already, built that. He's built a media company. He owns a VC company, has, very reputable and trustworthy sort of guy. You take NFTs out of it, and you just look on a guy, Kevin, raising his seed round that you can get access to. Hell yeah, you're going to get into that. Like anyone with a sort of half a brain would, if you take out the NFT aspect and just look purely on that, you're like, I'm going to back that. And I think that's the way we should be looking at this now. NFT is just a new way, a new vehicle to deliver this new Web3 style company.
And Moonbird holders are now angel investors.
100%. Now, I think for me, the jury's still out on $80 million for an initial raise is a shitload of money. Like that is a lot of money. That's like a Series B, Series C. What you do with $80 million, is yet to be seen. And that's not including the 240 million in secondary sales or however, whatever that number is.
Yep.
To take a clip on. So Look, I think the jury's still out, but yeah, it's who knows where this space is going to go.
Yeah, and just more broadly, Moonbird was a great example. And I think more broadly, tokens and NFTs are taking the Silicon Valley model of let's invest in everything that the world creates and see what sticks. And now it's making it so that every entrepreneur, or excuse me, every investor out there can do the same. You know, we can invest in all of the rubbish projects or in all of the potentially gems and blue chips out there, you know, at an early stage now. So when in the past, you wouldn't have gotten access to Moonbirds potentially till after IPO or maybe Series D or E if you're a good investor.
And you're coming in like $1 billion or $2 billion valuation, you know.
Exactly. Now you're in at the ground floor at a $50 million valuation, which is still obviously very high for a couple of JPEGs, but clearly he's got a vision here.
100%.
So yeah, we're democratizing venture capital and early stage investing, and it's very clear.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Let's jump into the Coinbase news, Nathan. I'm going to share my screen so you can sort of like run us through Coinbase NFT launching their beta marketplace.
Yes, they launched this a couple of days ago. Limited launch to pre-screened users. So I believe people received an email and a passcode to get in. And reviews have been mixed. Yeah, reviews have been neutral, to be honest, neutral to negative. The user interface is pretty clean. It's not quite up to the standards, in my opinion, of Coinbase.com, but it's still pretty solid. And Coinbase has the best user experience and user interface in the world, pretty much for crypto. And outside of that, we've got limited functionality related to the NFT marketplace. So here it is. Here is the user interface. It does look good, obviously. Obviously, they can build wonderful
I think the UI looks, I think the UI is good.
You like it?
Like I said, I think the utility for me is like as a novice NFT investor, like this feels nice. Like in comparison to, I mean, OpenSea is pretty easy, but if you look at like FTX,
perfect example.
I think the utility on these platforms is much better. But you know, even like Binance, I sort of logged into Binance and I'm like, you know, it's listed in BNB. You've got to try and figure out unless you're a BNB ultra bull, like, you know, it's like, which I'm not, you know, it's super confusing, right?
Yep. 100%. So if you scroll down for me, down into collections and just click say doodles or world of women, some of the limited functionality people were talking about is usually on the left-hand side. You could search by attributes on like your major marketplaces. So that's not quite there yet. That should come along pretty quickly for them. And then the other big functionality is if you click into one doodle like that one, there, and you scroll down, there's a comment section. So we are able to actually comment on NFTs, which could open up, you know, a world of possibility for bad actors and good actors. You know, a lot of trolls could come on here as well. So we'll see how the comment functionality does in a pseudonymous world rather than a, you know, comment sections just feels Web 2. So we'll see what happens if comment sections change in the future, or if, you know, if that's the best thing humans have now for the next couple of years. Then the one other big qualm was the claiming of names. So like, somebody can pretty much claim any name, and you could claim the name Pranksy, who's a famous NFT collector. So people, I think, wanted some sort of verification of accounts or wallet addresses so that, you know, verified people could come in here and comment, and you're hearing from the right person. Verification is kind of at the heart of crypto. So those were the three big qualms that I heard with Coinbase NFT marketplace. A lot of other small stuff, but it is still a beta product.
Yeah, and I think this tweet summed up by Yano was Coinbase launched the Web3 Instagram, you know, not necessarily an NFT platform, which, I mean, for the early adopters, isn't that great, right? Like, we want functionality, we want, you know, usability, we're very in it. But I think Coinbase have done this very strategically. You know, they're not probably aiming necessarily at the early adopters. The early adopters already have their platforms. They're in OpenSea. They're on FTX, they're on Coin, you know, they've Crypto.com, whatever. They've got their home. These guys are aiming for the mainstream adoption. You know, they are trying to bring this space to the mainstream adoption. So, you know, building that Web3 Instagram, I think is their strategic sort of decision to try and bring those people onto their platform.
It makes
sense. Will it work? wait to see.
Yeah, instead of reinventing the wheel and coming up with a unique Web3 native experience, they're pretty much saying, what's the next stair step function? We go from Instagram to Snapchat to TikTok, and then where are we going after TikTok? And I think hopefully they're saying come to Coinbase, social media. But I do like that take where they want to be the Web 2.5 rather than the Web 3.
Yeah, 100%. Nathan, what's your take on, obviously we've got 90 million registered Coinbase users. I'm always one that just sort of like raises the eyebrows a little bit in the sense of, yeah, that's great, but like, that doesn't necessarily mean 90 million people are going to use and start buying NFTs. What's your sort of opinion on Coinbase launching the NFT marketplace? Do you think this is going to really boost the amount of people coming into this space, or a little bit hype at this point?
I'm bullish. I think it's a major catalyst, and I think it's for that next user who's not Web3 native, who knows about Coinbase and knows and has heard of MetaMask and Web3 wallets, but hasn't got quite in there yet. Perfect example is family and friends of mine who are, 45 to 65. And they're interested in NFTs. I can't get them interested in DeFi, but they're interested in NFTs. They'll buy a witch, they'll buy a zoo animal, and they get excited about it. So they're not excited about MetaMask. They're willing to use Coinbase, and then they're excited once I tell them that, oh, Coinbase has its own Web3 wallet now. They're like, oh, wonderful. I don't have to use that MetaMask. So I do think this will bring in quite a lot of people once this thing is buttoned up. I think it'll bring in my parents, the older generation, who says, oh, wonderful, I have a 2-button clicks to go from USDC in my Coinbase account, secure and safe, all the way to owning an NFT. And if you can do that in 3-button clicks, I think that'll bring in a lot more people.
What I think is that one of the core differences as well on the NFT space, which brings new people to NFTs, is that community aspect. Like, you don't get that from your ERC20 tokens.
No, you don't.
We're pretty heavily invested into Maple, but Maple is a company. They're in DeFi. They've got clients and they've got a product to sell. An NFT is a community. It's a group of people that are coming together with a common goal or a common theme or something like that's integrating them all. And I think that is super different to that ERC20 aspect. And I think that's what really is going to drive people towards NFTs, whether it be the AFL launching an NFT or NBA Top Shots, or whether it be like whatever the different themes and interests are of different people, they are going to be attracted to that NFT. And I think it's a completely different use case to an ERC20 token, in my opinion.
Maple's been one of the best performers recently. So if any ERC20 token is going to have a cultish following, it's Maple right now. And I bet you Maple's community, which I think is quite strong because everyone's really happy about the price performance, Maple's a strong DeFi community is probably just as strong as a weak NFT community. That's how strong these NFT communities are by ascribing value to, say, your identity and owning an asset that represents you.
That's a great point. The other thing as well is like what I'm seeing even on the Moonbirds, just go back to Moonbirds for a second, is the cult-like following and the idea of like, we're not selling because of the future promise of what it could may deliver.
Yeah.
And I think the core difference here is NFT lands. And this is something I think people sort of fundamentally like wrap their head around, is that you can hold, let's say Maple, for example, we have 10,000 tokens. We can take profits at any point. We can take 10%, we take 20%, take 35%, whatever. It doesn't change. USDC in, we keep exposure to the token. NFTs are different. There's only 10,000 Moonbirds, for example. We only own one. If you sell that, that's it. You're out. Gone. And you're either going to buy back in higher, or you're going to see it go up and you're going to be happy with it, or you're going to be sick in the guts because you just missed out on the next big airdrop, or like, that's a completely different value proposition and like interest and engagement into these projects than tokens. And I think that's what people are missing.
100%. Well, you get attached by the artwork, by the representation of yourself, and then they really reel you in with the utility. And the more that we're seeing sophisticated utility, and Moonbirds, has that open and honest, sophisticated utility that they're bringing. it seems like that creates cults, and that creates a cultish following, because people know that, similar to companies having a present value of future cash flows for the determination of a value of a business, NFTs have a present value of future token flows that we're starting to see. And for every collection, it'll be different. We don't have best practices set just yet, but Moonbird NFT holders should expect some token flow in the future, and I think that's what people are getting wise to.
100%. Metaverse Explorer, thanks for joining us, mate, off the night shift.
Thank you for your videos too, Metaverse Explorer. I like yours.
They have been good. I watched the Steppen video recently as well. That was awesome, man. Nathan, is there any projects or collections you're looking at the moment? I'm going to bring up the OpenSea ranking series. Anything that you're looking at the moment that is sort of piquing your interest, or collections or themes that you're seeing from an investment standpoint that you're liking?
Just dropped one into the private chat. One minted today. Also mentioned it in the NFT report this week. This is BFF, Blockchain Friends Forever. It is a female-led group, and it has celebrity females like Tyra Banks and Gwyneth Paltrow and stuff. And they just started minting this morning at 0.08 for. They had bracelets that they introduced before. So they had BFF bracelets, best friends forever. And now today they launched their avatar collection. So these things have already 10x'd.
Wow.
And if you go up and then click on the website icon in the top right-hand corner of the little world, here's a picture of what they should look like. So they're kind of World of Women look like, but they're side-facing,
Nice.
and they look pretty good. So that's one mint that I'm looking at, and more looking at the theme of, here we've got another avatar collection that's building a community, and this time around women and underrepresented groups. So I'm still all in on the digital avatars for a little while longer, as we still onboard people. Digital identities need digital avatars. So I think we're going to see a few more Moonbirds the rest of this year. Every couple of months, I think we'll have a Moonbird experience where we have some epic founder who raises an epic amount of money and releases some really, really, really cool NFTs.
And if you take the Web3 out of it for a second, look at the Web2 traditional investing early stage is not necessarily backing the product. Like, yes, you got to know about the product, but it's backing the founder, right? It's backing the team, the people behind the project, the company is what you're backing. And I think we're starting to see that in the Web3 really flow through. So I think that's a big theme moving forward.
And as we see continual NFT collections being launched on this side of the market, now that the bull run is potentially over, I think there's been a switch to infrastructure. And there's a lot of infrastructure projects out there that, what is this, April of last year? 1 year ago, we really didn't have the concept of avatar profile pictures in the social consciousness. It was in the niche crypto punks consciousness. So a year ago, we didn't really have a lot of Web3 infrastructure projects because everyone was building DeFi infrastructure projects. So in my opinion, this potential bear market or potential lull period could be a time when new collections get released, but then also simultaneously we're seeing a lot of Web3 infrastructure that's catering to the NFTs in your wallet. So you're asking just about things that we're looking for is the continued building of digital identities for humans, but then also a lot of services and products to then give yourself opportunities to do things with your digital identities, and a lot of those are NFT lending platforms at the moment, but we're still starting to see it.
Yeah, and I think that utility aspect we've been speaking about, that's really started to come in now. Like, Moonbirds are dropping hoodies and to ramp on it,
as they should.
Hoodies events, I'm not sure, and I think the Bored Ape Yacht Club, that you're a part of, Nathan, has really sort of led the charge on that utility aspect with the things I've been working on.
And it's so good to see another one. Like, as a Bored Ape holder, now that we have Moonbirds, now there's 2 epic companies out there who are saying, no, utility for NFTs is great. We've got really cool utility. But when it was just one, it was like, oh, that's just the exception to the rule. We're going to get apes. We're going to get owls. We're going to get a few more here with respected teams that are going to give a lot of utility to the NFTs. And in my opinion, they're going to be creating the best practices for the next 10 years. How to launch and back when we were young and in high school, everyone wanted to go to Silicon Valley and start a startup, and that was the best practice playbook. You go there and you raise, and you go to Sand Hill Road and you raise a a seed round, or if you're lucky enough, you get into YC or Y Combinator. Well,
Yeah.
what are those best practices that young entrepreneurs want to go and do in 3 to 5 years? And I think we're creating them right now.
I went to Wall Street 2 days ago.
Yes.
First time in New York, and
Do you see the bull?
I didn't actually see the ball. I went to the New York Stock Exchange, and you can take this as you will, but I went there and it was just eerily quiet on the middle of a Tuesday or Monday, whatever it was, like middle of the working day. And I probably got confirmation bias because I'm in crypto, but I was expecting something a lot different. Maybe it's coming from the movies or whatever else, but the future isn't in Web 2. It's just not. And yes, there's going to be equity-based companies. There's always going to be there, right? But the best talent, the best money, the biggest best investors, best entrepreneurs are going to Web3. Like, that is where the future is being built. And I think there's like so many great opportunities from an investing standpoint right now that continue to pop up. We thought NFTs were in a bear market, and all of a sudden we're seeing projects like the one you mentioned just then, Nathan, the BFF community, like 10xing on Mint. Moonbirds is up. That's a bucket load. Like, there is a lot of life-changing opportunities for people to get access to.
There really is. And today's live stream has been very fundraising heavy because Moonbirds has provided such a wonderful example. And you kind of just tied it to the Web 2 world. And I've talked to some investors recently who, even if they're doing an equity deal with a Web 3 company, they want to hear what the founders think about a long-term token strategy, because they know that, hey, in 10 years, your company's not going to be the best ones in the world are not going to be managing their ownership with equity. The best ones, even if you raise equity now, you've got a vision for a token strategy in the future, because the composability and interoperability of tokens is just simply superior. So even companies today that are raising equity, in my opinion, will have to pivot if they want to be on the forefront in the future. So I'm hearing that from investors.
Yeah, great points. Thanks everyone for tuning in. If you like these videos, please feel free to give us a like and drop some comments or questions if you have any. Fire away to Nathan or myself.
Yes, hello, Joseph.
Hey, Joseph. Metaverse is very deep in the Solana ecosystem. Mentioned the top infrastructure project on Solana has caught attention. Their PFP went from 60 SOL to 180 SOL. SSC, they're about to release an Arweave Falcon L1 to take Solana storage instead of Arweave. Yeah, it's just not Ethereum that's also, booming. I think it's, the other chains as well. And it's exciting. It really is. Nathan, what's your, in this idea, like in this period of, if you look at some of the blue chips, you're a Bored Ape holder, the ability to get liquidity. I mean, you've got Apecoin now that gives you, I guess, liquidity for that NFT. Where do you see the future going for? Let's take an example that someone's got lucky in the raffle. Let's take me, for example. Got lucky in the raffle, now sitting on, $120,000 NFT. Great. Awesome. That's a lot of money, right? But you also don't want to leave the community. You don't want to sell, right? This is something that, for me anyway, this is like a multi-year investment. Where do you see the future of NFT holders being able to somehow get access to liquidity for their NFTs from an investor standpoint without having to sell? Do you think that's going to be possible? Is that possible already? Those two-sided liquidity markets. What are you seeing? Have you felt this personally as a Bored Ape holder? Like, you're sitting on a lot of unrealized gains there. How are you sort of thinking about that?
Certainly. Most people are thinking about this when it comes to real estate, because they're thinking, hey, I want to hold my NFTs and also buy some real property as well. And how can I do both? Right now, utility from a financial standpoint for NFTs is really just on the lending side. And even there, it's super limited. If you wanted to go and lend out your Moonbird, couldn't do it. You're really only lending out CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club at the moment to about 3 or 4 organizations. So lending at the moment, even that's very scary. I don't want to lend out my Bored Ape, even if I know I'm not going to get liquidated and I'm going to get my NFT back. I just kind of don't want to have to pay back a massive loan. There's just, some people aren't into that. So I think it will be up to collections like Moonbirds and like Bored Ape Yacht Club to say, yes, we are going to give you a 2 to 7% return variable and be happy with it. and we're going to be a quasi bank for you for your NFT. And, you know, right now that looks like just unique token generation until revenue from, let's say, Moonbirds or from, you know, Bored Ape Yacht from Yuga Labs becomes recurring. I think that's what we're missing right now is where's that recurring revenue? That SaaS revenue or subscription as a service revenue that guarantees recurring revenue for the company, that therefore they can give a recurring interest rate to NFT holders. So I do see at the end of the day, if we're going to have $1 million avatars, there just has to be a facility or an instrument to say, great, we're going to give you 2% on that. And if the collections, Moonbirds and Bored Ape Yacht Club, don't do it themselves, I see crypto banks spinning up and saying, shit, I'll hold on to your punk for you. I'll put it in a vault for you. And then I'm going to go and lend off it because I have a riskier appetite than you do. So someone's going to do it for us. Someone's going to want your Moonbird and say, we'll keep it safe for you, but we're going to go lend it out because we have a riskier appetite. So it'll happen.
Yeah, and then back to your point, even around like just the, you know, recurring revenue from those projects giving dividends back, or, you know, revenue back from the project through a token, or, you know, airdrops, whatever that might be. You know, you can get liquidity on that if you wanted to sell, but you know, the alternative benefits just by holding could probably outweigh the idea of selling in the long term. So
yeah, so I think
there you go.
we should definitely hold, for anybody holding a blue chip NFT. We're in that period of the market where I don't know where that 2 to 7% yield is going to come from. It's just a hypothesis that it will be there, and you know, hold on for that time period when we figure out best practices and we get recurring revenue for a lot of these companies that are willing to then share it. Live Free or Die Hard had a great question. There's a tweet by the Moonbird founder that their bot is going to buy all the nested Moonbirds below floor price. And I'm not quite sure. I forget the difference between a nested Moonbird and a normal Moonbird, but it sounds like they're artificially holding up the floor price of the collection by using proceeds made in the mint to purchase Moonbirds and not let them go below, say, like 30 ETH.
So I think,
is that, am I understanding that correctly?
I read that differently. I was on the Twitter Spaces today. I think what he was referring to was they've got this nested feature where you basically nest it's like staking, but, you know, they're calling it nesting because it's, you know, not sort of proof of stake chain. Nesting gives you rewards based on the you know, the longer you hold your, you know, your Moonbird in the nest. But what they were saying is that you can still list your NFT on OpenSea. So someone could theoretically try and buy that Moonbird, but if it's being nested, you can't. They're built in the smart contract that it can't sell.
Okay.
So basically what they're saying is that if someone tries to cheat the system by nesting their Moonbird and earning those rewards, but simultaneously trying to sell their Moonbird on OpenSea, that they have bots that are going to go and buy those the Moonbirds off the market as a way to get around this idea of nesting. I'm not sure if that I've explained that simply, but it's not about, from my understanding, it's not about them like building a floor price at all. It's just about counteracting bad actors that are trying to like reap the rewards of nesting, but also trying to sell their asset at the same time.
Cool. My apologies. That makes a lot of sense then.
Yeah. Live Free or Die Hard, or Roll Hard. If you want to, if I've gotten that wrong, feel free to let me know. But that's my understanding.
I think we have a collective shift hacker posting in some spam into the Facebook comments.
Yeah,
is that right?
We got a spammer. That's not the collective shift account. So yeah, there's been spammers are running wild at the moment in crypto. It's
absolutely
actually
wild.
Like, I don't know if you've been tagged in, you know, half of my notifications on Twitter is just like,
it seems like it coincided with Elon getting rejected. Maybe Elon spamming Twitter.
So if you're new to crypto, like, you know, this sort of giveaway nonsense, like we don't give, you know, that stuff away. We'll never ask for your seed phrase. We'll never ask for you to send us your wallet details. Please be careful. Never send your crypto.
On that note, actually, I almost fell into a scam the other day because Coinbase Wallet's user interface was too good. You know, MetaMask takes some time when you click buttons and then it like loads for a second. MetaMask is quite slow. Coinbase was so fast that I was clicking something, click, and all of a sudden I was on a scam application. Wallet's connected, and I was like, oh my God, that was so fast because the Coinbase wallet was so quick to just do
Wow.
everything. I was just like, yeah, I'll connect. And thankfully I didn't sign any transactions, but yeah, little scary
A
story
little
there
scary
for
there.
me.
We've got a if you're new to crypto, or geez, not even if you're new, just anyone, it's good to refresh the scam security side of crypto. It's super important. Holding as many of your assets on cold storage as possible. But we've got an ultimate guide to crypto scams in our platform, which is free. Scam protection Bible, what you need to know about avoiding crypto and NFT scams, because they're
Yeah,
running rampant at the moment. So please,
they're
read up on
wild.
that.
Yeah, can't trust any verified accounts anymore unless it's
The,
the actual one. But even then, it's hard.
the blue tick's out the window. Don't worry about the blue tick.
Yep.
That's, I'm not sure what's going on there either. Cool. What other questions? Feel free to shoot your questions in, team. Dan's asking where you're from, Nathan. What is your accent? Where are
I'm
you
half
from?
Australian, half American. So I grew up in Sydney, Australia, but then I've been in the States for about 17, 18 years. So it goes in and out.
It's a bit of both. That's why we can pick it up.
Yep.
Cool. What else is on your sort of radar, Nathan? Anything else that you want to chat about from a from an investment standpoint, NFT space, even broader crypto?
Probably just from an NFT space, everybody's looking. Rumors are circulating on Twitter about the other side metaverse launch by Yuga Labs, and that coming potentially either tomorrow or next Friday. They like Friday announcements. So that's probably after the Coinbase beta launch, which was what everybody was kind of waiting for. That's probably the next big event in the NFT space is the Yuga Labs metaverse land sale. So rumors of about like a $10,000 per plot land price, like 600 ape tokens. So that's what I think everybody's waiting for outside of Coinbase releasing their full product.
We spoke about just briefly before we wrap up. The Kobe wrote an article on staking and just the sort of the death of staking. It's basically,
Yes. So
in a nutshell. Yeah, you go.
if you
I'll
scroll
take
up
this.
towards the top, and there's a section that starts with just down below the death of staking. He kind of sums it up here. The paragraph, the third paragraph down, starts with somehow. Really sums it up right here, where staking from a theoretical standpoint should be receiving rewards for contributing to chain security. That makes a lot of sense. Great. I stake my ETH in the ETH2 contract, and I am a security part of the Ethereum blockchain. That's real staking. Now, modern staking, I guess what Kobe is saying is where it's just let me deposit you and we will mint new tokens and give them to you. You're not doing anything to secure the network. You're just giving us some assets to go and lend out potentially. But even then, sometimes they're non-custodial deposits. So, the application can't even use them. So this is, I think, the crux of the argument here is that, the staking of Apecoin or the staking of your NFT just for the receiving of more tokens, I think isn't quite sophisticated enough for Kobe, it seems like.
Yeah, it's probably two-sided. I think, and where he was really writing around, what in particular today was around the ape coin, and I think he was doing some work or advice around like the distribution of the billion ape
Yeah,
coins.
I think he was talking to one of the board of directors over there. So Kobe gets calls from everyone.
What are your thoughts, Nathan, just around the distribution of, the ape coin and rewarding ape holders? I think basically his point here was that they were looking to maybe distribute the majority of the treasury over the next year or so back to original Bored Ape Yacht Club holders, where Kobe was sort of saying that, he would have rather see them invest into longer term. He was basically saying that, of course, the Bored Ape holders are going to vote for distribution of ape coins because it's basically going to, give them more money. He's sort of saying that they probably should be pointing towards building something things over the long term and be the real, the main winner of Web3.
Yeah, that's such a tough one where I think the best minds in the world are coming up with like best practices right now. I personally would probably like to see Apecoin distributed for the next 20 years to Apecoin holders, and let's not just distribute these undistributed coins for the next year and a half. Let's do that, but then also let's bake in no end to this kind of yielding for Apecoin stakers. So I don't want to like the way I'm talking about them. I want Apecoin to turn into a bank essentially, you know. But I don't know quite if they'll go and become financial institutions. But if I'm not going to lock up my Ape token with Bored Ape Yacht Club, someone else is going to let me lock it up with them and earn some yield. So, yeah, I think we're going to be finding out best practices over the coming years here for those type of tokenomics questions.
Yeah, totally agree. We might wrap up with questions. If anyone's got some questions, shoot them through. Last one here: live free or die hard. I know Nathan has been bullish on Wizards. In your opinion, their future, Nathan?
Massively bullish on the Wizards. The Wizards could be one of. I just put a link, Ben, in the private chat. The Wizards could be building a Disney-like empire. They're going for a solid 2.5 ETH, so it is a reasonable investment. They've also got baby Wizards, who are a derivative collection that are like 0.03 ETH, which are a bit of a more reasonable investment that'll have less limited rights, not part of the official team, but they've been accepted. And the Wizards are building out a 2D pixelated Rooneyverse. There it is. So they're going to have a 2D pixelated metaverse where we can walk around with our little wizard. They're also building an MMORPG, I believe, a massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And I think they're also having a TV show as well, an animation series. Wow. So we're looking at, and additionally, just this week, it's been a big week for the Wizards. They've released, so we got Wizards NFTs. They've released Beast NFTs. And if you scroll up to the top, they're also going to release Warrior NFTs. So if you click Warriors next to Beasts, you can kind of get a picture here of we've got Wizards, we've got Warriors, we've got Beasts. You know, we're creating all of the characters we need for a standalone metaverse to exist. So I'm massively bullish on the Wizards. And it's been fun. Oh, one of the best things, talking about utility of NFTs, is the Wizards have a book of lore where you can, you buy a wizard and then you can create this. There it is. You can create the story around your wizard. Well, related to their warriors and their beasts, the newer NFTs to the collection, they only rewarded NFT holders who actually wrote in the book of lore. They didn't just reward you for holding one of the wizards. They want you to participate and write lore because we're building a self-created metaverse, where the lore is actually the metaverse, So my point is that there's real utility there, where if you write in the book of lore, you will be rewarded. So you need to actually participate in this ecosystem. Outside of the good art, they've got one of the best communities as well. I'm in their Discord, and it's just a fun time. So if you're able to, if I don't think they'll go below 2 ETH. Like if they do, I'll scoop up another. But if you can get into the Wizards at 2 to 3 ETH, I think it could be a good investment in the long term, especially just to simply participate.
That's really interesting. That interactive games. I mean, the play to earn gaming. We know that's a big trend that's happening at the moment.
Yep.
Nathan, are you minting Anata, however you?
Anata, I'll send you the link. I'm probably not out. I'm probably out on this one just because of capital constraints. Mm-hmm. They're giving us avatars that are dynamic, so that if you and I got on this video conference, we could have an avatar here represent us. And if we were a bit camera shy, you could have the avatar talk for you. So they're minting today. I believe they're doing a Dutch auction style, calling it a fair launch, where the price goes down over time, but then everybody pays the same price at the end, I believe. So I believe there's a bidding process, and it looks like the auction process ends in about 20 hours. So right there actually is where you could place your bid, and you could put in any price, and then there will be a clearing price that everybody has to bid in or pay, I believe.
That's interesting.
Actually, that's not too bad. Yeah, I thought I was priced out a bit more, but 0.25 is pretty reasonable for what we're seeing for mint prices these days. But to answer Slipdoc's question, I will not be minting these, even though they're quite interesting.
And Metaverse, wow, it's crazy looking at how much and how far a Web3 community can build out their verse, 100%, especially with capital. I mean, it's going to be a game of the metaverses, I think, is going to be the narrative over the next few months and years.
Honestly, I saw a funny quote where it was like, follow the base devs. And I don't quite actually even know what that means, but it's like if you find a community that has base devs, and what I mean by base devs is these ladies and gentlemen who are simply not going to stop building. You know, money doesn't matter to them. You know, it's just they're here to build because they freaking enjoy it. They're just based that way, and that's what you really need to find is this cultish stuff that we used to find with startup companies. Now we're finding it with startup NFT collections.
100%. Awesome. Well, I hope everyone's enjoyed that. Please feel free to give us a like and a subscribe if you've enjoyed this. I mean, final words. I think it doesn't have to ever stop if the community lives on, right? I just think we're in the minority. The people that are watching this video today, the people that are actively investing in NFTs are, even earlier than we are in crypto. There's so many people that don't understand it. It's a completely different value proposition. It is another industry inside crypto, and I think that's the way we're going to be looking at it. And these are companies building Web3 projects and communities, which is completely different to ERC20 tokens, and it's a completely different investing strategy. I think we've got to think about that. So,
yep, hodl your tokens.
Hodl those Moonbirds. Well done, everyone that got on board, and hopefully we can find another one soon. Thanks, Nathan. Appreciate the time, man.
Definitely. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ben.